we heard we had a brief presentation. There are two parts to the subject given to us. One is the perspective planning. The perspective planning covers the military or individual service for the next 15 to 20 years. Now, you all technologists here, engineering, production, and such facilities you run, imagine what you're going to do in 15 years from now. I don't think it's even in our mind. That one we keep saying as a jargon, it's a leapfrogging technology. It's something is happening, and we are doing perspective planning for the next 15 years. It humbles me. I stayed in the Air Force for very long, and it's impossible to believe what's going to happen, what's going to come. I did the entire Su-30 project. I interacted with the Russian Design Bureau, and the aeroplane that we have today is very, very unique. There isn't such an aeroplane anywhere in the world. But it took us 3 years to get the Russians work on it. We heard this morning Ashok Baweja saying it's $750 million in here. That is peanuts. On the Sukhoi 30 development, they had spent something like close to $3 billion. That's the kind of money involved. And when we say that we're going to make combat aircraft, they said, what investment? If you talk about some 100 million, 200, 300, 500, 600, I don't think we really make sense. So perspective planning is a very boring budget related, because after all, at the end of the day, the government, the military has a budget. So you have to manage your budget. So you start putting every year, how much will you get more budget? 7%, 10%, inflation, all that you negate. So we have some wizards on, finance, and then they say this is what you'll get. We work with MOD and then say, okay, what do you think? And then you start putting the cost of the system today, and then you project it, what will it be in, standard inflation in 10 years, 15 years. That makes no sense. Because the newer system, it costs astronomical. A Sukhoi 30 is some 260 crores, 250 crores of that sort. And it's even more expensive when we talk about Rafale and so on. And LCA will soon be costing same as Sukhois, because we have a limited number and we have to produce these. Now, what we talked about today, we heard my colleagues and friends talking about legacy system. Next, it'll go on when we get an equipment, we'll carry on for next 30 years, 40 years. And we will indigenize. What is indigenization? I'm sorry if I sound a bit awkward on this. It's nothing but reverse engineering. And somebody talked about in the morning in the discussion. He said, "What about IP? You are a company, you're producing, and then you are worried about your IP. What about the IP of the OEM? And he's made a nice big black box, and then he come and given it to you. You indigenize them. So somebody is going to hang you one day. So, therefore, and then what about the software? What about the software? You think you can really do it? Because we don't know what it's supposed to do a particular box to the other end. So we deal with the hard-hitting facts. We deal with peripheral things. Peripheral. If you want to design, we want to design an airborne radar, air interception radar. Today we haven't done it. So I was in the team. We developed with HAL. We wanted to design a radar for the LCA. We played with it for a couple of years and gave up. Then finally we bought from Israel and fitted it on the aeroplane. It's flying. So the radar to the sensor is important. Total. What are you going to do? Reverse engineer it? Now we go on to more sophisticated system like electronic warfare. Now the electronic warfare is continually evolving. Today we heard about Akash missile. Now Akash missile uses a certain engineering, electronic engineering, which is which is which protects itself from jamming. This is the warfare. So there are ECCM in that to say it doesn't get jammed, it can still hit the target. But today the jammers are very powerful. Like I specialize on that, and all our top-end jammers or ECM systems are imported. The technique that we talk about is mind-boggling. We deceive, we do a deception jamming. No longer is a brute power to blank a scope. We deceive. So we create a target, he thinks it is the target. When he fires a weapon, it doesn't hit. Because we've deceived him on the either range or even azimuth. And he doesn't even know that he is being jammed. Now those are the technology in today that's happening. And to achieve that, your computers, your system has got to be so fast. It's pulse to pulse. We are dealing with a high agile PRF system, and I won't like to go into describing it, but very agile PRFs, and then very large, we're talking about in its bandwidth, and then it just keeps jumping frequency. How do you chase it? So it is being done today. Now if you talk about such capability exists on our operational system. So if I have to give a QR, please develop a system of this nature, I don't think we can hack it as of now. The most intricate thing is that if you talk about electronic warfare, the system is evolving based on the defense system. Based on the enemy, the potential enemy, what does he have? Let's talk about Chinese or Pakistan, whatever they have, we know. And we just do a very good analysis to say how does it work? How does it track and go and hit? And how best to interfere with it? And therefore you come up with a QR or so-called design of can this work? But then you'll have to test it. You'll have to prove it. It makes so you do a whole lot of simulation. And we still nowhere near it. So if you talk about the top end, today we talked about, it's a dream world. The GE doing a LEAP engine. It's a composite. The blade looks, massive. And additive technology. Additive technology, composite, ceramics. Are we going to see the daylight of it here in India? Or is it really needed? Is it required? This is another problem we have. We chase technology. Sometimes what is lesser would be good enough. We are unable to decide because we don't have that practical maturity to say hamara bas ki baat nahi hai. We will hold here, we'll go up to this far. No. Continually, with all due respects, our R&D, they push technology. And the other day I heard about gallium nitride. Are you really going to get gallium nitride based systems? I don't think even gallium arsenide we have enough working in our area. So we are using terms which are practically unrealistic. And if you do get gallium arsenide or gallium nitride, it'll be so expensive. All your perspective plan, everything just goes for a bunt. Sorry. So we are talking about a war machine, and you start over sophisticated every corner. You're not going to go anywhere. So we have to put technology where it matters, like for example weapons, and for example laser, optronics laser. Now the laser that we use on the Sukhois and so on, is so powerful, so accurate. It detects a target something like 15 kilometers away accurately to a dot, and then you launch a missile at it without a radar even transmitting. Now imagine, guess the visualize the the innovative engineering capability of those people. Russians came up with these first. Now the French have it, the Americans have it, F-35 has it, Rafale has it. But they came up with this first. And we've been flying this system for the last 25 years, 20 years. So we've had our own difficulties with the laser. The mirror wears out. Then we go on to some jugaad. Bhai, koi karega kya? Ye mirror, can you repair it? Can you do this electronics? Something. Then you say, I'm dealing with laser. But we are nowhere near it. But I'm not discouraging anyone. What is important today is that we need to synergize. We have not heard any this morning. I mean, I just stayed in a short session. We have not heard anyone talking about an operational requirement of the future. I won't go to the future of 20 years from now. What's going to be next 5 years? Can we make our own indigenous engine? Forget about LEAP. What is ailing our GTRE? We worked on it for X number of decades. We nearly have given up, and then we're asking some foreigners to come and do it. GE or SNECMA, somebody. So what happened to all the investments that we have had here? We can't make an average jet engine function to reach those so-called standards of certification. I personally was part of that program. I've been personally part of the LCA program from 1985. So we want carbon composite. We want a quadruple digital. So first we did quadruple analog. No, we must have digital. I've flown a lot on the analog system, like the Mirage 2000. I did some experimental on digital systems. Okay, it doesn't mean much to me. But you want to bring in a technology and then you work, and the redundancy, the kind of a requirement on a software of a totally quadruple digital technology is amazingly complex. But mind you, we have done it. The LCA today flying with a quadruple digital of our own software. But the hardware, not necessarily media. You have the hydraulic jacks because the aeroplane is unstable. So the control surface has to move 45-50 degrees per second. Otherwise the aeroplane will go out of control. So we have a jack which is as thin as a little finger, and it goes feverishly. And God help if that damn thing doesn't work. You're finished. The aeroplane will be out of control in no time because it's an unstable machine. So we have pushed the design to that level of instability to have a maneuverability. And yet, what is the problem? One of the problems we've had is to be able to clear it at high angle of attack. With all that fancy digital, we still have had problem with a high angle of attack. Now, similarly, sorry, I got a bad cough. We developed the ALH. I was been again in that program for a very long. No, it's okay. So, the ALH program, we ran into all sorts of difficulty. Today we've had certain problem with the flight controls. It can get into one corner of the stick, and we lost a helicopter with the crew. Of course, finally we found what could be wrong. But it's very complex. We have today engines, legacy engines, flying in the Kiran. The engine technology is the same as any of your carpet cleaner. It is of something like 60-year vintage. वो button दबाओ, start हो गया, it flies. And nobody is making this engine Viper anymore. In the world, we are the only one making it. Thank God for HAL. Orpheus engine is still running. Nobody is making it. It's 50-year-old technology. No, say 60-year-old technology. I flew the Nat during the war, and it had Orpheus engine. Very, very interesting. You could slam the engine in 4 seconds. With them designs, 60s. Now, we are still producing those engines and managing those engines of 50, 60-year-old. Why is that our industry cannot develop a small engine? You're all talking about some high-end stuff. LEAP. Additive. Where has this come from? Okay, with all due respect, these companies are here. 200,000 engineers are working here, or working on some high-end design. अरे बाबा कुछ तो करो हमारे लिए. No, nothing wrong with our workforce, mind you. I respect them. But they do what you manage them to do. But who is going to push this new designs to be evolved and developed? There is so much of blah 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 heat talking about innovation. What innovation? I'm not talking about some people would have innovated with the soldering. I don't disrespect. But the innovation is into this total operational system. I was the first one to get in touch with Israel. As back as 92. Right? Now, they had a problem. Natushkar, the missile being fired by Hizbul. They were simply firing these so-called rockets into the public. It was demoralizing them. So they brought a whole system called Iron Dome. As someone explained in this discussion, so the moment they engineer the design, then they take it and then they layer it to say this will sell it to Africa, this will sell it to India. But what they have is their own. They developed an Iron Dome, a detection and weapon engagement that engages an oncoming missile in no time at all. It's total innovation under pressure because it is hitting them. Public morale is down. Not too many got killed. Morale is down. The government said, get on with it and produce something. So they came with Iron Dome. Has anyone conceptualized here any dome? But what exactly is their operational requirement here? Does anybody know? But you people are talking about RFP. Now, RFP is not going to take us very far away. Of course, RFP is required for people to produce and make your money, whatever the industry. Is that going to take us, India, sorry, being philosophical about it, to some distance out? Out of question. Therefore, you have brilliant engineers there, and that the man is all full of ideas. But you have to take him to that. Therefore, what is missing? Connectivity. The military. I was very fortunate to have worked very closely with DRDO and the others and the PSU and so on. I learned quite early that it's not easy. So, there isn't an input from the operations. It is not RFP. Please. We want a system, we want a new air-to-air missile that can kill a fly which is something like 15 kilometers away. Are we joking? No, it's possible. The Americans are doing it. Who's doing it? Americans are doing it. Who else? Russians are doing it. Israelis are doing it. Why can't we do it? Arey Baba, leave that fly, kill an elephant, but design something. But who will, you're capable of doing that. Please don't misunderstand me. But somebody has to tell you. Somebody has to give the so-called, not RFP, we're evolving a design. Each one of you is spending some money, like Bell we heard, very good, fabulous company. They're doing R&D. But it has to be towards, and you see in Israel, every 4 guys are sitting together and doing some research for the Ministry of Defense or the military. The connectivity is so close. And people shifting between military and the and the industry, because their system is like that. Here we have a cloak of what you call the secrecy. Oh my God, I can't tell you. But it has to be open. So we have to discuss specs with you, and then you people will come with some new ideas. Put a group together between the military and you. Then say, this is the problem. Let us try some out of box. If you do something out of box, that is innovation. And doesn't mean that everything you innovate must cost some $1 billion. I'm very happy with Jugaad technology. If somebody designed TAFE tractor, that is Jugaad only. What's so great? University student developer tractor. Again, I'm saying with respect. But we have to put a goalpost somewhere else. We can't even design a brake system. We have not developed the appropriate support systems. Again, they are imported. Then we come to this RFP. Then we say, this is a hydraulic, motor. This will give me 250 bars and it will temperature so much, all that we say. Okay, do it. Where is it? Here is a sample. Now that's not so much innovation. But of course it has to work. We are doing a hell of a lot of things. I said, I started with that. I'm terribly impatient, disappointed. And we say, oh God, we have so many skills, so much of skills. And we have Mr. Baveja, when we worked on that ALH, the amount he did that work on that. It's a pleasure to see how and he kept that foreigners running. And then we did some very good work on that. That was confidence. And we have such leadership across the spectrum. But my call for the day is that you have to bring them on board. The military people, whatever it is. And then say, okay, now let's get together. Remove the secrecy, etc., etc. And we open fire. Then only India can move forward. This is my personal opinion. So I close here, and anyone wants to say anything is free for all. Please. I request you to kindly keep it sharp and pungent so we can answer quickly, then go on to the next one.
Am I audible? I'm Colonel Hariprasad. I was hearing all of you. One thing you people should understand, the civil industry. I was in army for 22 years. After that, last 19 years I have been in the civil. I know the pressure of the civil industry. That is why I am putting it across to you. The civil industry cannot afford to keep on spending, expecting that tomorrow there will be an order. What is the alternative for that? You divide your system like Air Chief Marshal Krishnaswamy was very right. 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. Have a plan. Empanel. Make an empanelment of the respective companies with the respective skills for doing developmental work on various aspects. At least those three companies are sure of getting orders for their respective field.
I'm with you totally.
Why can't such an initiative be taken? So that when I go back to my board, I'm very clear. Okay, if I have missed this, tomorrow I am going to get this. Day after I am going to get this. Because I am working within the three companies.
Okay.
Why can't it be done?
Yeah. May I say that...
no, I'll just highlight one more issue.
Yeah, please.
A tactical communication system, when they started with this Make in India project, they said high altitude EMP protection, electromagnetic pulse protection. High altitude, why it is high altitude? This nuclear warhead goes around 50 kilometers up the sky and it explodes, and no shock effect or no blast effect is seen on the ground. Only the EMP comes, 50,000 kilo electron volt, will come and hit all your electronic equipment. All electronic equipment, including chip-based vehicles, will be off-road within matter of 2 to 6 nanoseconds. Finally, what has happened? They said we will have 2 nodes working on HEMP, and other nodes can be on interstate.
I would like to request you to keep the questions short. Basically,
so what I am trying to say is, list out your priorities, make out empanelment, and give orders to those companies. Make a proposal.
Well,
for that.
it's a good point. Basically, you're giving an idea how to come together. By the way, EMP is very well known to us. I don't know which sector you have been working on in the army, but we've been working on EMP in the Air Force for a long time. Our aeroplanes, all these are protected, hardened for EMP of a certain blah 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 details. So I won't go. Yeah. We have, and by the way, in our EMP design, lots of Indian scientists, engineers are involved. Were involved. Now that's pretty okay. Next question, please. I'll tell you the answer. The answer is that we'll have to bring together. I mean, you served long enough in the army. You know them very well. So those guys have to move from here and come to you. I appreciate that. I am also retired, where we all suffer the same frustration. But when we wore a uniform and running these things, we are impervious to many of these things. Because a vision, please, a vision to translate a vision. In fact, that's what you're saying. Translate a vision into action is not easy. Because all of us have, everybody has his limitation. You have a limitation. They want, after all, how long can we keep doing without getting paid? Therefore, if I do R&D, I have to get paid whether the results come or not. Now, I can't believe that the Indian government or the military will give a free for all R&D without a productivity. We've had enough with the DRDO. With respect. Right? Now you can carry on 20 years, 40 years, 30 years, 50 years. DRDO is making money. Why can't I make money? Yeah? Anyone?